Hello and welcome to another Writer's Showcase, everybody. I am your host, Lord Captain Commander Dunn, and got a bunch of fun people in the chat in the back room ready to share their amazing work. Anyway, let's start off with His Lordship the Bard.
Here's to the Bard and I'm calling thee plum. Here's to the Bard and I'm calling thee plum. Here's to the beast and the rest of you scum. The cage is locked in and the town is aflame, and it's ours for the taking.
When did I get promoted to a lord?
When you married the British debutante, or when you started dating the debutante, I guess.
Hold on. Is there a way to change? There's no. I don't think there's a way to change my name right now. Oh yeah, there is. Hold on. Hold on. This needs to be done then.
Did it?
There we go.
Right.
All right, we'll bring in the other guy. I'm not your show monkey.
Are we sure about that?
Fuck off and bring in Aspiring.
Hate. Double hate.
Loathe entirely.
You were promoted to Lord when you became running co-host. Because that was a thing.
Yeah, you've been carrying this show for a while.
You know what's even funnier? I was talking to a guy in Maulers, and I was telling him about my experience in prior podcasts and stuff, and he immediately wanted me to be a co-host.
You have that about you, Tarek. You're the Bard. You have those charisma stats up to 1 million. Hey, Wissia.
Yeah.
Hey, Lolt. Hey, Rio.
What? How do you think you got the lady? You got the charisma stat.
I know how I got the lady.
Good. Because you got that's a 6'5" Viking frame.
No, it's because of my massive penis.
All right, that works.
At this point, Tarek's trying to throw us off balance after that whole thing.
Oh, God. I don't even know where to go from here right now. Like, I've just talked about my massive cock. Like, I think we've hit the bottom.
I swear you get both pain and enjoyment from this in some way, and it's weird.
It's a very icy hot pain, if you will.
Icy hot pain.
I think this is the
kind of like gonorrhea.
No, Wissia, this isn't the part we move on. This is the part where we take a breath.
No, I agree with Lolt. I think people should, listen to what they're here for.
Alrighty.
They're here for us.
Yep. Let's do Tarek and then Aspiring and then me. Sound good?
I was hoping Aspiring could go first because, I don't think Becca's here yet, and she does actually like to listen to it live. So let's let Aspiring go first today.
All right, cool.
That will work. All right. I forget the number of the one I'm wanting to read. Give me a sec. 27. All right. The chapter is. God damn it. The chapter is an edited version of the last one I read. I told during the last stream I was in that I split it into two and reworked it. The last chapter was more or less the same. Events played out pretty much as they were, so Tarek isn't really lost anywhere. This next half has been moved around a bit to some of the players are somewhere else, and so it should hopefully be better. And the fact that it's also its own chapter now should help with pacing and not feel overly long. To catch up, Vampra has just gotten to that outpost and managed to quell the rebellion and capture the targets. She is now meeting with Mark, who arrived at basically the exact end, and she is pissed off because it's supposed to be Mark's assignment, or she felt Mark should have came here himself because it was her vacation time, and she did not want to leave. So she's very angry and wants to chew him out. As Vampra made her way through to the other side of the dome, she saw the disarmed combatants lined up where the firing had taken place, all lying face down with binders keeping their arms back. The operations commander was speaking with a group in an olive and gold uniforms. Vampra ignored him when he tried to get her attention. Entering the landing bay, Vampra looked over to her freighter. Mark stood outside the ship next to its open ramp with one of her crew, his own freighter a couple spaces behind hers. Along with Mark's freighter, there were more ships at the back that hadn't been there when she arrived. Seemed Mark wasn't the only one late. As she approached her freighter, Vampra doffed her coat, removing her hidden dagger from its sleeve. Throwing the coat to the crew member, she told her, "Get me another coat and replace one of my spare daggers into its sleeve." She and Mark had multiple spares of all her gear in their freighters. With their line of work and abilities, gear often didn't last long. Looking down at her hand, she added, "And another glove." The crew member nodded and rushed to do as she asked. When she was out of sight, she turned to Mark and saw him looking at her dagger, the blade as long as her forearm and slightly curved. Mark preferred plasma and firearms to blades, though he kept a curved short sword somewhere under his cloak. He glanced up at the hole in her plate, and when he looked at her, she got the vague impression he was raising an eyebrow. "I hear you finished handling the operation," he said, sounding rightly embarrassed. "No thanks to you, or those you brought along. I thought you were busy handling the anarchists somewhere else." Mark nodded. "Weapons raid at Yamar Prime. Already had to take into place when I arrived, and most got away. Came straight here after." "To do what? It's a small civilian uprising. Did you think I wouldn't have been able to handle it before you arrived?" "No, but now that I'm here, I can handle the rest. You can leave now." He waved up the ramp. "Thanks for the offer, but I'd rather not make it a habit leaving you with my work," she said, turning away. "My operation, I'll finish it." "Actually," Mark said, stepping forward in front of her, "this is my operation. You aren't supposed to be here." Her eyes narrowed. "Excuse me? Your operation? I received the orders." "By mistake," Mark cut her off, raising his voice over hers while trying to be calming. His mask's robotic filter made it difficult. "The orders you received were sent by an undercover anarchist. They were never meant to be sent to you." That made Vampra pause, frowning. She didn't say anything, thinking what Mark told her, and it wasn't until Mark nodded behind her that Vampra noticed that the coat and glove had arrived. Handing Mark her dagger, she pulled them on as she asked, "Why would they send me orders to come here?" Mark shook his head with a sigh, which sounded like he was breathing through a fan. "We're not sure. All we have right now is how you were supposed to switch our orders, so I'd be sent to the weapons raid and you here, assuming that's where you'd be sent. Unfortunately for him, you aren't supposed to be receiving orders this week, so I was able to order him detained. We still don't know the purpose for the switch, though. He claims not to know." A growl escaped Vampra's lips. "That's just perfect." Snatching her dagger out of Mark's hand, she attached it up inside her sleeve. "So I guess my presence here was never needed." She couldn't guess Mark's expression, but when he spoke, he sounded sympathetic. "I'm sorry you were bothered on your week off, but at least you can go back to Cassidy early." "Yeah, I'll leave the second my squad gets here." As she said that, Vampra noticed Ali and Garsoon enter the landing bay. In tow and binders were the target and his daughter, who they were supposed to take to Tavok. Frowning, Vampra waved him over. As they approached, she asked, "What are you doing with the target?" "Operations Commander Tavok ordered us to take the targets to Mark's freighters," Ali said. The Deepening, she asked, "And why are you taking the child with you?" Dilly and Garsoon glanced at each other before Garsoon said, "She is the second target, ma'am." Brow furrowing, Vamper waved them off to continue their escort. Activating her muffler, Mark doing the same right after her, she turned and yelled, "The child is a target?" A long moment passed before Mark nodded. "Why?" she demanded. Mark didn't answer. "Why?" "I can't tell you," he said finally. You can't tell me?" Vamper stuttered, shocked. "You can't tell me why an adolescent girl is a target being escorted onto your freighter for..." Vamper cut short as she looked to Mark's freighter and saw, along with the targets, an officer in an olive uniform with gold embroidery decorating his shoulders and chest, climbing up the ramp. A Dialea officer, and a highly ranked one. "Mark, why is there a Dialea officer getting inside your freighter?" He didn't answer. Remembering she had seen Tavok talking with Dialea officers, she asked, "Why are there Dialea officers inside the dome? There aren't any Mindos here. Are they for interrogation? Did you request for them?" Mark wasn't even facing her anymore. "Mark, answer me! I order you!" Mark turned to her. "No." Vamper's expression of fury dropped in surprise. "What?" "No," he repeated. "I can't answer your questions. I'm under orders not to." Hesitating, he added, "By Executor." "Whatever Executor told you, it doesn't include me. I'm your superior, and unless he specified me, I demand you answer my questions." Mark drew himself up, keeping quiet. Vamper's eyes widened, and she took a step away from Mark. He reached out to her before stopping himself. "Vamper, please, just forget what happened here. I'm sure Executor will fill you in eventually. Just go back to Shay, enjoy your week with Cassidy, and everything will be all right." Waiting for an answer, he sighed when she didn't provide one. He started to walk toward his freighter when she called out, "Brother." Mark stopped, turning enough to see past his hood. "If the sources mistrusted me for any reason, you tell me, right?" "They don't." It didn't pass her he hadn't answered the question. They looked straight at the other until Vamper nodded, Mark continuing down his way as the rest of her squad entered the landing bay. Vamper stayed where she was as her squad filed into the freighter, considering. Something wasn't right. Mark had all but told her that Executor didn't want her knowing what was happening here. And what was happening here? A civilian uprising with 2 targets in the center of it, one of them a child, DLE officers outside of their jurisdiction. She had too many unanswered questions, and too much of this reeked of suspicion. Some of it pointed toward her. She didn't know why Executor didn't trust her with what was happening here, but she was going to see why. As Lee and Garsoon approached from Mark's freighter, Vamper put Sally aside. "Ma'am." "First Lieutenant Zally," Vamper said, without facing her eyes stuck in where Mark had left. "We are going to go inside. You're going to order the pilots to make course for Shea Prime. When you take off, I will not be on the ship. If the crew asks questions, tell them they're to continue on course on my order. If anyone else asks after me, tell them I have asked not to be disturbed." After hesitating, he also added, "And tell Cassidy that I'll be later than I thought, and that I'm sorry." Gulping, Zally nodded. Letting go, Vamper led Zally onto the freighter. Her eyes lingering on the open cargo bay of Mark's freighter and the crates piled inside, Vamper climbed up the ramp to her ship. Most of the squad had gone to their quarters, the cargo bay mostly empty except for a few members who had stayed and chatting. The ramp started to hiss as it reclined up, and Vamper consumed souls, the world slowing to a crawl. Not wasting a second, Vamper sprinted out, jumping out of the ship and hanging to the edge of the landing bay as she made her way to Mark's freighter, where less people would notice a black burr speeding past. Getting into Mark's cargo bay from the side, she hauled herself onto the top of the highest pile of crates, squeezed herself into the cramped space as fast as she could. She had to take off the sight from her back and keep it in her hand, and even then the space was tight, her back and front pressing against the crate and ceiling, but she fit. Ceasing the rush of shoals she was consuming, the amount she'd taken up making her wince, she braced herself for the moment of truth. Everything returned to normal speed, and Vamper waited for the sign that someone had noticed her. She went as stealthy as Mark, and moving as fast as she had wasn't unnoticeable, but with a bit of luck. Time passed. Edgy heard nothing about her. Nobody searched for her, and she was out of sight for the most part. Eventually, Vamper heard the ramp close, and the cargo bay went silent. She managed to sneak onto Mark's freighter, and wherever it was headed, it was bound to have answers. End of chapter. Thoughts, concerns, comments.
Fairly simple and straightforward.
Sounds like it definitely read easier than the last one.
Yeah, because the last one was basically that plus the last chapter. So I was like, yeah, I should probably then split it if it seems it's going on too long.
But no, it definitely sounds like it read very easily, which, can be very hard sometimes.
That's nice. I did rearrange a bit of their dialogue.
I don't really have anything to say about content wise, but yeah, but I can see the effort you put into this one.
Thank you. Yeah. How was the dialogue between the two? Did it seem nice?
Yeah, so to me seemed like standard dialogue, like nothing too snappy, nothing too emotionally felt. It just sounded like, two people having a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they are both kind of trying to be professional.
Well, yeah. I'm trying to think now. Did it come off as? I suppose it came off as like a professional relationship. I do agree with that.
It's like a professional relationship between siblings who occasionally become a bit past professional, but most of the part try to keep it there. Tried to balance between the two. Did it seem to fit?
Yeah.
All right. Anything else that stood out? Any problems or good stuff?
I honestly have nothing, man. I'm sorry. It seemed like a standard. I don't know if this was not a filler chapter, but a breather chapter. But that's what it seemed like it was to me. Just sort of like it was, it was there to let some breath, a fresh breath of air into whatever happened previously.
I wouldn't say that's the purpose of it. It's more just getting her from point A to point B.
Yeah,
giving her certain information.
Yeah. A breather chapter.
Yeah, I guess you'd call it that then.
Yeah, that's about what I thought. It's a serviceable enough thing. Nothing too special. Nothing too bad. So.
Alrighty then, that is good.
Mm-hmm. I agree with what Raptor said. Brief, but again, it was serviceable. It was well flowed. So well done.
Yay. That's good to hear. Less problems, the better.
Exactly. It's better that neither of us really have anything to criticize, rather than one of us, both of us ripping it apart.
Well, that's what happened last time, so that definitely means I improved it.
Yeah.
That's great. I guess that means Lord Tarek shall be reading. Has Becca managed to arrive for you?
Yeah, she's here.
Oh, yes, she is.
Nah, just real quick, I'm gonna get rid of the title. I like the name Simple. See, it's easier to remember one word than two, or one name than a title and a name. All right, so backtracking to where we were last time, Aviana cut a deal with someone known as the Crow Mother, and that was essentially the matriarch of a sister organization to the Ravens known as the Crows. And that deal was that she would learn to dance from someone in the city. In return, she would have to dance for the entire city, and as a representative of the Crows, or of the caravan, I should say. That's more accurate. at the end of the year. And then she met back up with Silas, who said she owed Tate and Baron an apology. And that's where we are today. As Aviana and Silas approached the entrance tent, they could hear cheers coming from the crowds. When they arrived, they found Tate and her father, as well as several others, watching the match from the practice area. Before she could even approach Tate, Aviana noticed the long blonde hair of one of the competitors. "Merrick?" Aviana said to herself, her heart pounding with delight. She ran to the fence, yet her excitement waned when the boy turned, revealing a much thicker face than the one she knew so well. Aviana frowned and slumped onto the fence, but continued to watch the match. The blonde-haired boy's strikes were powerful and continually knocked back his brown-haired opponent. His opponent's hair was drenched in sweat, and his chest was rising and falling rapidly as he tried to keep his guard up. It wasn't long before the blonde-haired combatant slammed his sword into his opponent's hand. She heard the boy shriek before dropping to his knees, his sword falling beside him as he clutched his wounded hand. "Disgraceful," she heard Baron whisper. The blonde boy lifted his sword up high above his head as applause rang throughout the arena. Even King Tyrael, Marcel, and the other nobles stood to applaud the boy's victory. The boy spun around, soaking in the praise, ensuring that everyone got a good look at his face. The applause only ceased when King Tyrael raised his hand and walked towards the edge of his stage. "This year's youth champion is Aldum of House Corlum," he announced proudly as the blonde-haired boy cheered along with the crowd. Aviana could see the brunette boy struggling to stand, still nursing his wrist. He slowly extended his good hand toward Aldum. However, once the blonde boy saw it, he knocked the boy's hand away and placed his boot on his shirt. The crowd only stopped applauding when King Tyrael raised his hand again, and the entire arena quickly went silent. The king started but stopped. "Almost all of our participants fought bravely and with honor. As our winner, the Corlum family will have the honor of dining with myself and my court when we welcome back Lord Tyrion and his attendants later this year." "That was the prize?" Aviana hissed, turning to Silas. "Quite a lucrative prize. If Tyrion takes a liking to him, it's almost guaranteed he and his family will have more influence than they could have ever dreamed," Silas mused. I can't watch any more of this," Aviana said, turning her head, only to glance back at the poor boy on the ground. Thankfully, by then, 2 guardians had come to escort him off the arena into the medical tent. "Are these children not taught to be grateful in victory?" Baron bellowed, turning towards Silas and her. "I'm sure most are, but I clearly forgot to teach mine how to be grateful in defeat," Silas replied. Aviana felt Silas's hand on her back, and then a sudden push forward as she stumbled towards Tate. As Aviana got a better look at the girl, she noticed mud clinging to her hair, and that her clothes had become marred and scuffed. The most noticeable difference from the last time she had seen her was the bruised and swollen left eye, and various scratches and cuts on her arm. "Are you all right?" Aviana asked, forgetting about the apology. "It's much worse than it looks," Tate responded bluntly, crossing her arms. "You wanted to tell me something?" Oh, right. Tate, listen, Aviana took a breath and composed herself. "I'm very sorry for being so rude after a match. I've never competed in anything before, and I just got really upset that I lost," Aviana said meekly, her head staring at the floor as she was unable to look Tate in the eye. Will you please forgive me?" Aviana trembled, waited for the inevitable decline, when suddenly she saw Tate's right hand. When she looked up, Tate's frown had changed into a friendly smile. "Apology accepted. You put up a great fight this morning, and I hope we can spar again sometime," Tate said happily. Aviana blushed and shook the girl's hand. I hate to ask this, but was Aldum the one who beat you?" Aviana asked as she let go of Tate's hand. "He beat me in my 3rd match," Tate answered, clearly irritated. "It angers me to see such a disgusting display get rewarded," Baron spat. Aviana turned towards the arena and watched the boy kneeling in front of King Tyrael. "The boy's flaws aside, he must have been quite the warrior," Silas responded. "That may be, but you didn't see the flagrant disrespect he was demonstrating, especially against that Trent boy." "Trent?" Aviana questioned. "The boy who was just fighting. All throughout the match, Alden was toying with him in the same way a cat toys with a mouse. You could see it on his face. The boy was prolonging the fight as long as he could, soaking up every cheer and applause from the spectator. How long did the fight last? Silas asked. Baron turned his head to the clock tower in the distance. 15 minutes for a fight he could have easily finished in 3. That does sound a bit excessive, Silas mused. Excessive? He nearly broke my wrist, Tate said, showing her left hand and wrist, which were covered in dark blue and black marks. How did he do that? Aviana asked. He was just stronger, Tate answered reluctantly. At one point, he grabbed my wrist in my hand. He squeezed them as hard as he could until I dropped my spear. Then he headbutted me, Tate sneered, pointing to her black eye. I kept telling you, you have a spear. You don't need to be in close, Baron chided. I know, Tate said, sighing and leaning against the fence. For a moment, the 4 of them stood silently. After waiting a moment, Aviana turned towards Baron. Oh, Lord Baron, I believe I owe you an apology too, Aviana began. Just Baron will do, lass, but I accept your apology. Thank you, sir, but I am really sorry for how I acted this morning, Aviana said, looking up at the large man. Baron smiled and looked down at her. They were nothing but harmless words between friends. Friends? Aviana said quietly, the word caused a warm feeling to rush over her. That being said, though, for our people, the only true way to forgive is to share a meal and a drink. So, what do you say? Will you join us for lunch? Aviana hesitantly turned to Silas, who nodded, looking rather pleased, then to Tate, who looked particularly excited about the notion. I would be honored. Thank you, Aviana answered as she bowed her head. Aviana held her wooden plate to her chest, apologizing as she bumped into another patron, who was also on his way to the serving table. It had taken her longer than Tate or the others to reach the table, but when she did, her jaw nearly fell off her face. Every inch of the wooden table was packed with a variety of meats, cheeses, breads, fruits, vegetables, and even desserts. A particularly wide grin came on her face as she began packing as much food as would fit on the plate. She hadn't seen this much food in years, and she wasn't about to let the opportunity go to waste. As she walked towards the table, Silas had scouted for them. Her plate threatened to topple over several times. The pork stacked on top of the chicken was threatening to tilt over, and the carrots were starting to get mixed with the potatoes. The mug of grape juice she had in her left hand continued to bounce just over the rim, splattering onto the ground. At this rate, she would be lucky if there was anything left in the cup by the time she arrived at the table. Oh, hold on. Something just changed. Okay. It was only then that she took her seat at Tate inside. Sorry. It was only then when she took her seat next to Tate that she was able to sigh in relief. As soon as she sat down, she heard what sounded like a ravenous beast next to her. She turned her head expecting Baron, but was surprised when she discovered Tate taking large bites out of a chicken leg. Aviana watched, somewhat awed at the amount of food and spit spraying out of her mouth. Suddenly, Baron's large hand came and smacked against the back of Tate's head. Ow! Tate yelled as she spit out an unchewed piece of chicken. What was that for? We're in public. Show a little decorum. If you're gonna eat like that, people are going to think our company is nothing more than a ravenous pack of willagos, Baron said sternly. Aviana looked over to Silas, who she heard chuckle. He then leaned over the table and whispered, "Told you." Aviana rolled her eyes and picked up a piece of ham. She slowly chewed the pink meat and shivered as the honey-flavored swine surrounded her tongue and savored every moment. Whoever cooked the ham was surely a master. The meat was moist, the texture consistent, and all of it was easily chewable, with a honey taste erupting with each bite. After swallowing, she reached for the chicken leg and took a large but still reasonable bite. The juices of the chicken had been glazed. The juices of the chicken had been glazed and spilled over her lips and into her mouth as she chewed. Where the ham was sweet, the chicken was slightly bitter with herbs and salt covering the skin, but it was delicious all the same. After finishing the meat and vegetables on her plate, Aviana eyed one of the tarts. As soon as she picked it up, some of the crust flaked and fell back onto the plate in her lap. After taking her first bite, Aviana squealed in delight as the raspberry filling touched her tongue. Though the filling was tart and somewhat sour initially, the longer she chewed, the sweeter the flavor became. She leaned back and looked into the bright blue sky as she enjoyed the flaky treat. After taking a moment to enjoy the treat, she lowered her head and noticed everyone else at the table had her eyes on her, as though she had gone mad. "Are they that good?" Tate asked, half laughing. Aviana giggled. "Probably not, but I just haven't had something this sweet in a long time." "Well, let's see then," Tate said, nabbing a tart off her plate. "Hey, that's mine!" Aviana protested. She could hear Baron and Silas laughing as she tried in vain to take the tart back from her new friend. Aviana groaned as she laid her head next to the empty plate. All that was left of the once mighty pile of food was a few scattered crumbs and one potato that had been burnt. "The last is quite an appetite," Baron commented. You know, you didn't have to eat everything, right?" Tate followed up, poking at a few uneaten pieces of chicken on her plate. "Maybe not, but I wanted to taste everything they had to offer," Aviana responded as she slowly picked up her head, feeling nauseous. "Tate, why don't you take Aviana and go play some games? Some exercise should do her good," Silas said. "Come on, Aviana, let's go play horseshoes," Tate said, grabbing her arm. Aviana groaned at the thought of getting up or moving at all. "Go on, lass. Silas and I have some business to discuss," Baron said sternly. Aviana sighed and got up from the bench, nausea nearly overwhelming her as she got onto her feet. "Come on, Aviana, let's go," Tate said, pulling on her arm. Aviana sighed and reluctantly followed Tate out of the lunch area. "Feeling better?" Tate asked, throwing a horseshoe in the air and catching it with her right hand. "Much," Aviana answered, wiping her lips and handing Tate back her water skin. They hadn't even made it halfway to the horseshoe field before Aviana had to expel some of her lunch. "Why do you have a water skin, though? Don't you and your dad live in the city?" Aviana asked as Tate lined up her throw and released the horseshoe. The shoe flew in the air for a few moments before landing in the dirt with a thud. While a good throw, it was still a few feet away from the metal pole buried in the dirt. "Nah. Our company lives about a mile outside of the city. Most of our jobs come from the outlying farms and hamlets," Tate answered as Aviana had just leveled the horseshoe to her eye. Aviana lowered her arm and then swung upwards, releasing the shoe. She watched as the shoe overshot the pole and landed behind it. "Qatar! Such language! And I was always taught that city girls were civilized," Tate teased as she picked up another horseshoe from the ground and prepared to throw. "I've seen how you eat, Tate. You're not exactly the model lady yourself," Aviana replied, grinning. Tate laughed as she threw the other shoe. When it came down, it smacked against the previous one she had thrown, resulting in a metal clank. "Are you even aiming for the pole?" Aviana taunted. Tate went silent and picked up her last shoe. She brought it to her eyes and took a deep breath. Holding her breath, she took a step forward and swung upwards, releasing. When the shoe descended, it clanked against the metal pole and spun slightly before landing in the dirt. She turned to Aviana, a smug smile decorating her face. "You were saying?" Aviana crossed her arms and pouted. "Lucky throw. If I was using my left hand, you wouldn't have stood a chance." "Well, I suppose I feel safer knowing mercenaries are taught children's games." "Well, this children's game can be very dangerous. Have you ever been hit in the head with a horseshoe?" "I can't say that I have." "Well, if you had, maybe you'd have more sense about you." Aviana was about to tell her off when suddenly she stopped and started to smile, a laugh leaving her lips. "What's so funny?" Tate asked, crossing her arms, looking serious. Aviana lifted her hand and continued to laugh, her smile only growing wider and brighter. "I'm sorry. It's just been such a long time since I've had this much fun talking to anyone," Aviana explained as she started to calm down. She could see Tate looking confused, almost worried. "Back when I lived at the orphanage, the other children and I would get into these petty arguments all the time. Talking to you, I'm just reminded of them." Tate said nothing, but Aviana could see the look of pity on her face as she crossed her arms. Do you think we could pal around again soon?" Aviana asked as the laughing fit was finally gone. "Maybe we can practice combat together. Silas is only able to help me once a week, and I could use a training partner." Tate smiled for a moment, but it was quickly replaced with a stern and serious frown worthy of any adult. Fine, I'll train with you, but only if you promise not to hold anything back just because we're friends. No one has ever held back on me before. Why start now? Aviana said with a small smile, extending her hand. So it's a deal? Tate grabbed Aviana's hand and squeezed it, smirking. It's a deal. And that's the end of this chapter.
Nice. I really like this Tate girl. She's fun.
Indeed. So I presume their people don't like Tate's people do not care about the Sevens.
It's more like a mercenary thing, you know. Like, are you really gonna care who you get the money from?
Ah.
And not only that, but she's living outside the city. Like I explained, she's living outside the city. It's a combination of being a kind of country girl along with being a mercenary. You don't ask where the money came from. You just, you know.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, you're dealing with anyone who can pay.
Makes sense.
And by the way, no, I don't normally describe what I stuff into my mouth. I'm just somehow very good at describing food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I swear, you should try seeing how that works professionally. You might make a few $100 or so $1,000.
But I was explaining to Becca, though, that the whole point of this like little exchange at the end was, and I'm hoping I got this cross, but Tate is kind of supposed to be her friend for life. This is kind of the first time she's also interacting with someone her age other than Merrick, who, you know, is a year or two older than her. But this is, and not only that, but they have that brother-sister relationship, or that pseudo brother-sister relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of the first time I think that you actually get to see her acting with somebody her age, or, you know, associating, if you will.
You get to see she's not the only one who scarfs down food like a wild animal.
That was my favorite part, actually. The part that part was my favorite. Silas kept criticizing her, and now she sees why. She's actually able to see why.
Oh, it's one of those times when you're doing something that everyone's like, stop doing it. You're like, why? And then you see it done. You're like, oh, fuck.
Well, she stopped doing it because, you know, her mentor just basically kept criticizing her over it. And she's like, fine, whatever. I don't see the problem. Now she sees the problem.
Yes.
Do you have anything to say, Dunn? You've been awfully quiet.
No, seems pretty straightforward. I think that works fine. Admittedly, I had to clean up my bathroom because my cousin is getting married, and I needed to, since our house is the way stop where everybody goes to change.
Okay, I see.
So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to be here for the whole thing. Mostly, I was here for at least like kind of the ending where she's just bantering with Tate, which I quite liked.
I apologize. I did not catch that. You were so quiet.
I mostly caught the bit about Tate and her bantering, and I did catch the bit where the guy's arm broken.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's definitely like, he's definitely down an arm or down a hand.
So my immediate thought was, what a little wuss. Maybe that's
a little wuss. No, the poor kid's wrist is broken. Like, the kid went out of his way to break the boy's wrist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And there was, I don't know if anyone caught that, but the hypocrisy there, where Aviana just faked a concussion and everybody jeered her for that. But this guy dragged a fight out for 15 minutes and they are still singing his praises.
Oh, okay. That's actually really smart. I like that.
So,
yeah.
Also, that honor line was obviously about Aviana, like that they're the ones who are saying like, yeah, she fucked up.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
It's always a point of contention, I imagine.
yeah. So it's just a situation where she's just getting shit on because of her status, really.
That's a rough deal.
Yeah.
I like how you're building the character. It's very, very wise.
Oh well, fuck you too, Valeri.
Savatsuri. I did leave. Yeah, I had my sister had a party that she needed to go to, and I'm like, since you're underage, I have to be the one to drive you. You're welcome.
All right. Well, I think that's it on my end. I think you're the last one done.
Cool.
One and done. You're not the only one who can make those jokes done. I can torture you too.
Aspiring.
What?
You don't get me if you think you can torture me with bad puns.
I know you feed off of them and probably get more powerful, but I'm just gonna let myself think it pains you.
Keep dreaming. I have made so much worse done puns in my life.
You know what? I'm just gonna let you two hash it out. I got nothing to say here.
Hash out the done pun war. Done pun.
So bee ladies taste like carrots? I do not dignify these questions.
Wouldn't a bee lady be your side bitch or something?
That is not what I meant when I typed that. No.
You got your main squeeze, or your A lady as it is, and then you got your side bitch, the B lady, as it was.
So does this mean in a good full complimentary harem, there's 26 of them?
No. You see, once you run out of 20, once you go above 26, you gotta start using the Greek.
You have to go through every alphabet.
I guess, that's the only way I could. Now they're all Savets. They don't just have a name; they just have a letter.
Terry, you realize that means if we use the Greek alphabet for the second one, there's gonna be an alpha bitch, a beta bitch.
Yeah, I know. that's when the harem starts including boys.
Well, I guess Becca's gonna be happy that she can have extra side things alongside you, I suppose.
I guess if you can get that many women by the time to get to the Greek alphabet, you're going to attract at least a few guys.
No, like I said, once you go Greek, you start including men in that harem. You're going to be like fucking Alexander the Great.
Or King David.
Oh, whoever. Or whatever freaking Afghani king is ruling right now.
Wolfish ass, I think.
Oh, sweetheart, you don't want to be getting involved in that.
She's a V2, and she doesn't know. I don't need boys.
Yeah, since you got a man.
Nah, she's got something better. She's got a bard.
That too.
I'm going to just not do any further jokes.
Okay. Sounds. Yeah, that is wise. All right. I think we better let Dunn go before this gets out of control.
Oh, what's Dunn got for us in store? Tell me, Dunn, is it anything that I can make fun of, or something that's gonna make Becca go crazy?
I don't believe so.
Damn shame.
Okay. So what's been happening is Mordred has heard that the High Priestess is going to come to investigate whether he is the Herald. So, and he's decided to slip out of the castle and go off on his merry way because he just wants to get this over with, or slash go out and be out in the world, figuring out what exactly is going on. So, let's start there. Mordred slipped out of the city at nightfall after everyone but the sentries had gone to bed, making sure that he had an eye warping spell around on him so that nobody could see him or Breeze. Once he was out, Mordred swung into Breeze's saddle and started riding toward the route Eris had shown him. As soon as he was a few miles away, he heard hoofbeats riding toward him. Smiling, Mordred concealed the sudden swell of desire in his head. Instead, turning and waving his armed hand at his pursuer. I thought you might follow me, when and Varys and I talked about the most likely routes, and you've walked up to us. Nah, Kate told me where he was going. Varys smirked his wrath pulled up beside Breeze, the big ugly destrier prancing slightly as if he were eager to keep running. You're going to need someone to watch your back, so you're going to need someone to stand up for you just in case. She shrugged. Besides, you owe me. Hey, well, I wouldn't mind the company, much as I've grown fond of this lovely horse. He patted Breeze on the neck, which earned a whinny of appreciation. She seems to prefer more one-sided conversations. It's the same with my sword. You talk to your sword? Karf asked, eyebrow cocked in consternation. You'd be amazed at what you resort to when you're alone and have no one to talk to for centuries. Mordred breathed out slowly. You have to do something, or go crazy. And talking to the sword isn't crazy? Kara shook her head. You're strange. Mordred chuckled despite himself. Yeah, it's a wonder I'm still relatively articulate after being so long imprisoned at the bottom of a lava-filled ravine. Kara paused and gave him a searching look. You're being hyperbolic, right? She sounded like she wanted to say yes. Unfortunately, the Amaran plane doesn't conform to many rules of this reality. Mordred breathed out slowly, remembered the horrible pain of being doused in fire for centuries without end. And since it was my spirit and not my body that was down there was essentially no limit to what kinds of pain could be inflicted on me. He raised his hand and closed it. Honestly, I'm lucky to be here. So, how did you get out? Kara asked, nudging Wrath forward. Well, my assumption is that I wore down the chains enough to allow me to break the links. Another option is that somebody broke them from here, allowing me to escape. Mordred allowed Breeze her head so the mare could follow the big destrier. Once I was out, I pulled myself out of the chasm to freedom. Well, maybe there's someone looking out for you, Kara shrugged. You've fundamentally shaken my religious perceptions, so it might be a good thing for me to have some faith that a higher power is looking out for us. Yeah, well, sometimes it's clear that they're what I need to do. Other times, not so much. Mordred leaned backward in his saddle, then pulled out this small ball, now made of brass with the spindles in the center of the hollow top set to spin at need. Looks like a compass, Kara remarked, glancing over his shoulder at the object. Did you put the magnets in correctly? It's not that kind of compass. Mordred grimaced as his arm went limp and his vision fuzzed. I must admit that I was very surprised with all the advancements in technology since I was gone. The astrolabe, the compass, the caravel ship. Now, even without our help, you're able to replicate a great deal of our architectural efforts, smithing overlapping piece of metal to swords and other pieces of art, for example. It's fairly incredible. So, what kind of compass is it? Kara asked, pointing toward the ball, all in Mordred's hands as he fiddled with it. I'm not sure, he admitted as power was leached out of him. I think it'll direct my path, at least I hope it will. How long will you be working on this? Kara glanced around at their surroundings, glaive leaning against her shoulder. I imagine you'll be fairly vulnerable while you're making that thing. About a day, maybe two. I'll be happy to have the protection and the company. He offered his hand, which she took, even if there was that bit of hesitancy. Why does that bother me? Mordred thought. Why do I hate the fact that she's uncomfortable around me? Because his body still had all the feelings that his host had possessed, all the emotions that made up the core of a human being. Now he was having to fight against the love that man had had for his wife, and eventually he'd have to worry about a childhood sweetheart. Those emotions would probably be just as bad, possibly worse. Humans held on to things like that, much as they wanted to leave it behind. If the one that got away, not because of any relationship, but because of circumstances outside control, well, that was powerful. What's on your mind? Kara asked, pointing at his face. You have that look. Which one? I have many, unable to keep back a little bit. It'll pertness. The one where you're thinking about really important and or troubling things. Kara motioned at Mordred's face with her finger. Come on, you can tell me. Mordred closed his eyes and decided it would be best to be honest. Well, if I'm being completely transparent, when the transition of my soul into your husband's body happened, some of the core emotions that he still had remained. And they're still there. He put the compass in his pocket, power still flowing into the device. One of which was how he felt about you. Kara blinked and swallowed. So do you? No, I am merely being honest with you and possibly giving you some comfort, Mordred said gently. He loved you more than anything else, so strongly it was all that was left of him. And I'm working to keep control over it. Oh, so that's why you look at me the way you do, Kara chewed her lip. And this is the first time you've had to deal with this? Yeah, but I just want to be friends. I wouldn't know what to do with anything even remotely resembling romance. Mordred rubbed his chest. There'd always been discomfort in making magical objects, but now that his vessel is extremely flawed, the discomfort was now painful. I know it's not really me, and I'd rather not sully what you two had. That's actually sort of sweet of you. Kara tilted her head. So, What does it feel like exactly? Well, it might be easier to show you. Mordred created a mirror and held it up, then created what he'd been experiencing inside her. Holy! Art gasped, clutching her chest and shaking her head. So you've been walking around with that in your head? Feels like I'm compelled to hump members in the mirror. Oh, goddess, how can you just live with that in your head and not act on it? It's not easy. Mordred licked his lips. I've had to learn to live with a new set of challenges since getting back here. Kara took a deep breath and straightened, rubbing her chest as if it hurt. I think I have a whole lot more respect for you now, she admitted. Someone can bridle his passions like that. It's very impressive. That's good, since I have a great deal of respect for you as well. Mordred pulled some power back into himself, then straightened and flexed his left hand as feeling returned to it. You've handled all this very admirably. I know it must be uncomfortable dealing with me, especially when I look like a deformed version of your husband, since I'm living in his body. It is, Kara admitted, shrugging unconcernedly. But I've had to deal with uncomfortable situations before. This is just another test. And honestly, from what I've seen, you're not a bad person. Arthur just got unlucky. I think that we would have gotten along well. Ellie, your husband, and I. Mordred, it smiled. You seem like a man of principle. Art chuckled and patted Rath's neck. He was, even if he was a godless heathen by his own admission. Well, concerning everything that's been going on with the church, I don't blame him. Mordred began focusing his power into the device, steeling himself against the weakness that swept over him. Well, I think that we won't have such a bad journey after all. I imagine we're probably going to get arrested. Kara reached into her pack and pulled out an apple. Expression resigned. And she took a bite and looked up at the moon. Do you have any idea as to how we're going to do this? Well, all I can do is state the truth, show off what I'm capable of, and hopefully that'll be enough. Mordred shrugged. So you don't have a plan? Kara rolled her eyes. Great. Well, thankfully, I have someone who knows the High Priestess running next to me. Mordred massaged his left hand. And as if his touch revitalized the dead limb. It's been a long time since I've interacted with her personally. Same with Arthur and Varys. Kara shook her head, rubbing her eyes and yawning. What I know is from informants and second-hand information. Well, it's better than nothing. Mordred shrugged. So, tell me about her. Kara thought for a moment as if pulling information from her mind. Maeve is a very kind and faithful individual. She strongly believes in the goddess and her principles. I'm not sure how she got to become High Priestess, maybe her family's connection, but I suppose that she could have gotten it by being faithful to her vows. The chastity vows. Mordred took a deep breath. That's just for the High Priestess, if I recall right. Likely why it's better to choose a lady and constantly examine her to make sure that she's still in touch. Yeah, it's stupid, Kara grimaced. Our priests are allowed to have families. Even the lesser priests in this kingdom can have family. It's just the High Priestess who can't have intimate relations before or after her ascension. I wonder where that particular law came from, Mordred wondered. I appointed a council of 10 elders, 5 male, 5 female, to teach the people correct principles, adjudicate disputes and other legal problems. I never meant to put any one person in charge. Well, you're in charge, and someone has to represent the goddess on Earth. Kara shrugged, covering up another yawn. Makes sense. And for it to be a pure woman who's demonstrated restraint and values her integrity. Okay. Okay. You have a point, but I think that barring someone from having a family is a strange and rather unhealthy attitude. Would read out slowly. But it is a higher calling, and I have to respect that. How understanding of you. Kara closed her eyes and leaned backward in the saddle. You don't have to sleep. Mind if I get some shut-eye? Go right ahead. Margaret lit his eyes and stopped the flow of power to the device. Strength flowed back to his body along with awareness of everything around him. I'll make sure nothing happens. I'll just need you to watch my back while I get this thing finished. She made an affirmative gesture toward him, then yawned and promptly went to sleep. It would appear there's a war over the bard in the chat.
There is.
Yep.
I didn't realize that would happen.
Excuse me, no stealing people. What is this?
Human trafficking.
Plenty. How many bars do you think of that hate Jurassic World? Plenty. And if not, you'll have to die
alone, lizard. It's just not even a war with me. I started it. It's not, I'm
When
like,
did I become a fucking commodity, and why?
With this one.
when you
God. Dude, you're fucking. This entire fucking thing is becoming so cringe.
I know, it's amazing.
I didn't realize it had start a war with Raptor and Becca.
A publicist is gonna look at this one day and go, dude, what the fuck?
No, I think that the publisher will be like, okay, so you seem to be very popular amongst everybody. We must make this work. How long is your hair?
Bart stocks are on the right side.
I would like to book an appointment with the bard. Is he free within the next week?
I feel now like doing this show is sort of like that porno a celebrity has to do before like they become big. Like what was it? Sylvester Stallone did the Italian Stallion before Rocky.
Huh. So that's where VeggieTales got the name Italian Scallion.
You didn't
for
know
the Rocky
that Rocky
parody.
was known as the Italian Stallion?
Nope.
I'm
I've never
imagining
seen the Rocky movies.
On what level are you qualified to talk about media?
I just haven't seen any of the Rocky movies, the Alien movies, the Predator movies, or
Right.
My Bard, Get Out Sims. Well, last I checked, his character was neither mediocre nor had a vagina.
What?
he's trying to say he's not attracted to you, which we all know. This is between
No, I'm
Becca,
saying-
me, and Raptor.
No,
And maybe Wolfie if she wants to get into it.
no, I said, you know what sucker invested in mediocre P word?
What sucker? What?
You know, sucker invested in mediocre P word?
What?
That's the acronym of simp.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Neither did I. But don't know why you know that, and yet don't know what Chatterbait is.
Oh, I'm aware of what Chatterbait is. It's pretty easy to guess.
I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just imagining Becca. It's like in Dune, she is the majority shareholder of all of Tarek's stocks.
Yeah, she has full controlling interest. done his precious.
I am a man. I am not a corporation.
That's what you think, Tarek. You are but one of many bards.
The hell I am. There is only one of me.
Oh, F stud, you're a hellish pedant. I know, but that's where a lot of my humor comes from. Good or bad.
Oh, by the way, I did that thing again where you said one word. It's sort of like the last time Neph was here, and I came up with Izakai Realty. You said like investigate and something or something during your read. You know, the reason we're fucking here, and my thoughts immediately turned to CSI Camelot. Now that would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be.
Like,
I'm actually-
Even investigating.
it doesn't need to literally be Camelot, but just like an investigation show in the Middle Ages. Like, how do they solve crimes? How do they solve murders? Other than, you know, like the king just going, okay, where's the Muslim? All right, get rid of him. Where's Witsy?
Where's Wizzy?
That's
Wizzy has to Wizzy has to go to America. Wizzy has to be like, I need to leave.
I think that's going to be the next book in this particular series is medieval CSI.
like I for some reason I know like in D&D or whatever, you occasionally have like the murder mystery thing, but that just comes down to a lot of shenanigans and player interaction. But how would you actually write that? A murder mystery, you know, like CSI style in the Middle Ages. How the hell would you do that?
Probably in a similar fashion to how Supernatural does a lot of things.
I'm not sure about specifically CSI, but I can see how you can do investigations in medieval ages where they're trying to, like, an assassination's happened, the king wants to know who, so you can fuck him over. And you're trying to be like, okay, who is every noble who hates this guy? And they go through an entire fucking list in the first chapter. It's like, okay, so,
Well, it would just be. I mean, in the end, it would just be like a murder mystery. You know, obviously you write it backwards. You have the ending, and then you write back, you know, going forward. But I mean, like, how would you utilize, say, mages, or how would you utilize druids? How would you utilize this power set that's very unique to this setting to basically write something like this?
does Wax and Wayne do? Doesn't Wax and Wayne do that?
Yeah, but they're Western.
Yeah, but it's kind of, well, I guess it's not medieval at that point.
Yeah, it's like 1800s. It's like a Sherlock Holmes, essentially. Oh, there's an actual show called TV Medieval Murder Mysteries. I
did not know that.
I love the first user review is a 1 out of 10. Watched the first episode, couldn't get through the second because of the narrator's awful tone of voice. Trying too hard to sound like an American real crime narrator, but ended up sounding stupid and affected. Spoiled the series for me, although I couldn't watch more than 1.5 of them. Showing the same murder scenes over and over again also made the series boring. Oh, okay, wrong thing. It's 2015, not the 90s. Okay. Yeah. Well, it depends on
Sounds like there's potential there still, but no one's really been able to do the idea in a good way.
Yeah.
I was talking with Spark about Izakai Realty, and I kind of just gave it to him because I was like, you know, I kind of realized real quick, this is only good for maybe like 5 jokes and then it's stale. Like, unless you were to take it seriously or be really creative about it, but it is just something that I don't think has a lot of staying power.
It seems like a 1 season off thing.
Oh, yeah. It would definitely be like maybe 5 volumes, a 1 season anime. I agree.
Probably.
We just get like the 5 classes, like a demon king, an angel, something else.
Yeah.
Water creature.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a dog that told about history called Wishbone, yeah. And he did a very well-trained set of dogs for that show. And they put them in all sorts of weird little outfits, like Odysseus, Robin Hood, I think Oliver and Company. I know that it was particularly weird where they just how they did not Circe, Calypso, where she just has the dog tied up, and it's still Odysseus.
Wait, did you mean
That's
Oliver?
what?
You haven't seen that? You haven't heard it?
Huh?
You haven't heard of the Wishbone Odyssey?
No, obviously.
Odysseus is a dog?
Yeah, they have it.
This was a historical event.
Well, kind of Wishbone. The premise is there is a dog that is recounting the story of books and ancient myths, and it's him, Wishbone, as the main character.
The dog.
Yep.
Ancient Greece. On his way home from his victory in the Trojan War, he gets trapped on the island of.
How did the dog build the Trojan horse?
I don't know. It doesn't make
She
sense.
can do anything she wants, whenever
This
she
is
wants, and you don't
just
wanna wake her
trying
up, or
to get
else
the dog lovers to watch the
she
show.
wants to keep Odysseus on her island forever. Fat chance. Gotta go.
What?
Oh, yeah, she's got me on a pretty tight leash.
Odysseus, come here,
What?
my love.
No, must be free.
This sounds adorable and funny, honestly. It really does.
I am fucking speechless. I do agree with Valerian though. The dog is cute.
I gotta
Yeah,
And
the
also,
voice is perfect.
Odysseus was far away from home, where his family
Wait,
was
what?
waiting for him. His clever and beautiful wife Penelope had been.
I guess every single person in the myths is okay.
no, it's just the dog. The dog is the only dog, and they just treat him like he's a person.
But he's not a person.
Yes. Yes, the representation of a dog.
But I like how Becca just came back to this. It's like, what the fuck?
Did John Borman write this? No, it's too cute. Yeah, you don't have Galadriel and Frodo having a sex scene in there. Actually, it was going to be something in a script that happened in the 70s.
Whatever. Like, just whatever.
Tara,
Yeah.
trust me when I say this is exactly the kind of show you want to show on a date.
Wishbone?
Yes, the girl will be fawning over this show. I swear they'll laugh and coom over the cute doggo.
What have I done, lol? Dog stocks are on the rise, but I'm selling.
Holy shit! Raptor!
Wolvie, why? I was a much happier man not knowing that Odysseus was actually a dog.
Yep.
Female stocks are rising, but I'm selling.
White.
Tyler, I was gonna say that fucking white girls, man.
Yep. And,
White women.
and apparently, like, they're yeah, and it's just the weirdest part is the like he tries to liken they build the episode on like an analogy of the myth. Like in this one, it starts off with Wishbone being stolen by a girl, and he likes that to Calypso keeping Odysseus captive.
Hold on a second. This is my favorite. I just got to show this real quick. My favorite retelling of the Odyssey, just real quick. Where is it? Here we go.
Our first date was Clue. Oh,
What is Clue, by the way?
It's a movie that is based on a board game. I've never seen it. I just know about it.
Oh, it's a terrific movie.
The dog sleeps with Cersei.
Oh God.
Game of Thrones, but every important character is a dog except for Daenerys.
Oh, more like Daenerys is a dog.
No, it's gonna be everyone's gonna be simping for her under a bunch of dogs looking at her.
Hold on. Do me a favor and tell me if you can hear this.
You didn't share the audio.
Fuck, it never fucking works. Like, I want to share the audio.
It's just the button at the bottom. Tim Curry throwing himself from room to room like a mad.
Yeah, he was doing that. Hold on, let me try it with.
I wonder if I should note this down. Have Clue as the first movie date.
Worked for me.
Obviously, you have a British model as your girlfriend.
Clue first date. Just gonna note that down.
I watched Joker with my.
Are you still dating her?
We dated for about 6 months, but we had to split up because of the fact that her grandma didn't like me. She still dated me for 6 months anyway, and
why was the grandma such a bitch?
She just didn't like me. She had a bad feeling about me for some reason. I don't know why.
I do too. Just real quick. I put the link in the private chat. He just pull it up because it never works for me.
Oh sure.
Thanks.
The grandma has to like you. My grandma is thankfully so far away that it won't fucking matter.
That's the pinnacle. The grandma has to like you. Yeah, but then like her work schedule and school took over. So like even though like she dated me despite her grandma's disapproval, like we decided that the best thing to do was split. Also, she's the legal guardian of her little siblings, and I think the one that was special needs was scared of losing her, so we decided to cut it off for their sake. We still chat on occasion. I check in on her, see how she's doing. It seems like she's been having a rough time though. So yeah.
I'm going home. Which way to Ithaca?
It's not so easy. You must go through Hades, crossing the river Styx.
Oh, this truly is hell.
I love that. I love that reaction.
Oh man, that's amazing.
That is a great episode. That is a great sequence too, or a great story.
Well, cue depression. Maybe Joker really was a bad start. No, I kissed her right after we came out of the theater, and it was her first kiss, and she liked it.
I don't know what to think of that though, considering Joker.
It was our second date, I think. Well, it was like third or fourth date since I'd been helping her write her book before that.
You got her horny after Joker. Please understand. What this might be an alarm bell. Joker is a movie about a madman. Actually, you know what? It makes sense now. It makes sense now.
We done here.
Well, I'm done. You guys are finished, I think.
You know, one fucking day, I'm gonna just get Dunn's PFP, put it up, and there's gonna be 2 Duns in the stream. Because every single day, I seem to become more and more like it.
You can find many of my PFPs very, very easily online.
I know! I have your Pinterest board now, man! Oh, by the way, Tarek, Dunn has a Pinterest board with over 600 pins, a very attractive woman. Go check it out.
He's a British model. He doesn't need my Pinterest board for wanking material.
I wasn't assuming he would wank to it. I just wanted to point it out that existed.
Raptor, the stocks aren't going down, but my patience certainly is.
Well, hi, Dunn.
Your
I'm
patience
Dad.
stocks are being sold, it seems.
Hi, Dunn. I'm Dad.
Are you okay, sweet Becca? You just said actually kill me a few seconds ago. Maybe you should be more concerned about yourself. Tarek is banged his head on many a desk many a time because of us, I'm sure.
I keep coming here. I stopped doing what's making me happy. I was playing Cyberpunk about an hour before. I was enjoying myself, and then I come here.
This is legit like what you fucking said a year ago. It's the exact same reaction.
Yeah, a year ago. No, my first appearance on here was probably. Oh yeah, you've been going through that archive.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like a year ago in the same writer showcase. This is the exact same reaction. You're sighing, you're banging your head. You're like, I hate you.
Doesn't mean I shouldn't be concerned about what you people are doing to.
What do you think I'm doing to Tarek? Yeah, never mind.
Why does this show always devolve into, hey, let's make Tarek's life as miserable as possible, and let's record it?
I don't know, man. Aspiring Dun clone.
It's like, God, it's Jackass. It's just Jackass. I keep coming back for every nut. Oh, you son of a...
We're in a rare mood today.
Normally we save this for an actual show, not the showcase. But hey,
What?
I'm gonna give what? Fuck it, done. I'm going to insult you in the worst way I've ever insulted anyone. Get a real fucking job.
Oh.
I have one. It just sucks.
Get a real job.
Leave poor Bard alone. Alrighty. Well, I think we'll call it good for today. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the Bard for putting up with my sass.
And
there was no sass, and this what I was doing. It's called pity.
Pity.
Yeah, probably right.
Are you guys? You still gonna be giving me your thing to read?
It's showcasing multiple dumb.
God.
That's what this that's the writer showcase, really. It's not actually the show. It's trying to turn everyone into Dun.
Oh dear. I'm replicating. Soon you'll all be coming after me to kill me and replace me.
Yeah, you're a replica, all right.
But not the true insult.
Yeah, probably. Alrighty. Let's see. I'll see you guys later.
See you guys later.
Enough! Kill me! Just end it. No.